Welcome to Shots of Victory. I'm Rocky, and Blake's not here because he had some stuff to do, and so I'm just going to be doing a solo episode today. So to start off Raw, we had Seth Rollins returning, and I really thought he wasn't going to return this early because he returned. I was seeing his return date as probably in September. I wasn't expecting it to be like June when he returned. So I was really surprised, and he was then talking about being in the Money in the Bank match. And I'd honestly love to see him being a two-time Money in the Bank winner. But then Damian Priest music hits, and he comes out, and Damian Priest challenges him to a match at Money in the Bank, and Seth Rollins accepts. So it'll be Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest at Money in the Bank. Then it was Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable, where Braun Strowman got the W. And after the match, Chad Gable was yelling at Akira Tozawa, since Tozawa, I guess, cost him the match. And then he throws Maxine's crutch out of the ring. Otis is trying to help her out of the ring while Chad just slaps Akira Tozawa. And this makes Otis furious, and Otis just shoves Chad into the corner, and he just takes his Alpha Academy singlet off and goes away with the other two members of the Alpha Academy. And then later in the night, Otis tells Chad that they're over, that they're never come back. So Chad expels them technically, which so I'm guessing that means that the Creed brothers are coming soon. Since Chad got, I don't know, Chad's just going crazy recently. But yeah, I think that the Creed brothers are gonna be joining him really soon. But so we had then we had Io Sky versus Kiana James versus Zelina Vega, where Zelina Vega was dominating this match, honestly. And then Liv Morgan comes out in Dominic Mysterio's cow vest, and it distracts Zelina Vega since her and Liv Morgan are in a feud, which allows Kiana James to take advantage, and then Kiana James doesn't see Io Sky coming, and Io Sky picks up the W over Kiana James, which I didn't like Io Sky qualifying for Money in the Bank. I really thought it should have been Kiana James winning, because Kiana James is a really young star that I could see a lot of potential from, and being a Money in the Bank holder would provide really well for her. Since Io Sky's already been a Money in the Bank winner, I didn't think it would be really substantial to her career. So yeah, I guess Lyra's going to be in it now too, since Io's in it and they're in a feud. So then next it was Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, and Sheamus had a promo segment in the ring. And I guess Braun Breaker was mad about Sheamus taking his spotlight for the Intercontinental Championship. And so they had a match later in the night, and we'll talk about that right now. So they had a pretty good match, honestly. I think it might have been 20 minutes. And then Ludwig Kaiser comes out, attacks Sheamus, so it ends in DQ. Sheamus fends Ludwig off though, but Sheamus gets hit by a spear by Braun Breaker, which was a pretty good spear. And then Braun Breaker's getting escorted away by the officials, and Ludwig goes to attack Sheamus with his running drop kick to the stairs. But Braun Breaker intercepts him with a spear to show how deadly he is, and he stares down Sami Zayn. So I'm guessing Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn at Money in the Bank. So now I don't know what they're gonna do with Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus. I could see them both being in the Money in the Bank match, which would be interesting, but I don't know. It's tough, honestly. Then next we had Carlito versus Dragon Lee, where Dragon Lee did not win the match. Carlito won the match with Judgment Day interference, and I guess Liv was out there too. So yeah, it was Liv and the others that helped him out. When Liv got attacked by Zelina when she was out there, I remember that. Yeah. And Drew McIntyre comes out for a promo, and he's just very silent, and then he just says, "I'm done with this, I quit." So he walks out, tells Adam Pearce he quits, he tells Triple H he quits, they're trying to stop him, and he just leaves the show. Which I was not expecting, honestly. I didn't expect Drew to just come out and say, "I quit," and just walk off. I was expecting him to go even more crazy. But I guess quitting is being crazy as well, because he has a pretty good contract. And then it was King Carter and Katana Chance versus Damage Control, which was Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane, where KC2 picked up the W over Damage Control after some help by Lyra Valkyria, which I don't really like this Lyra and KC2 rivalry with Damage Control, because it's just boring. I don't know. It's just, I don't even get the rivalry. We need tag teams in the tag division, but they're having them not feud for the title? Okay. Because Bianca and Jade, in my opinion, are going to break up soon. We'll get to that later. And then we had Dom. So Dom was looking for his cow vest, and he sees Liv with it, so he asks her for it back, and Liv tells him he has to take it from her. And he goes to unzip it, but Damien catches him, and then Damien yells at him and tells him to go back to the locker room. And then Damien talks to Liv, and Liv's talking about how Dom wants her, not Rhea. And Damien just gets upset, I guess, and Liv walks off. And then it was Jey Uso versus Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio, where Jey Uso qualified for Money in the Bank in that match. And I really like that, because Jey Uso, yeet in the bank, he's the promotional person, it's the obvious choice to have win. Though I really wanted Finn Balor to get the W, since Finn Balor's just been low on momentum recently, and he needs that momentum, because I think that him and Damian Priest will have a feud soon. Maybe as soon as SummerSlam, which would be really interesting, honestly. And then then we see the lights go out while Jay's celebrating. And then we hear Bray Wyatt's old music, May He Rest in Peace. And then we see the lantern. And we see the door. Door opens. We see Nikki Cross crawling out. She points to the back and tells the cameraman to go back there. So the cameraman listens. We see Eric Rowan as Rambling Rabbit. It's just with a huge hammer. And he has it on his shoulder while people are bloodied up next to him. And then we see Mercy the Buzzard, which is Dexter Lumis, which I really like that choice for him. And then we see Huskus the Pig, which is Joe Gacy. Then we see Chad Gable, who's all bloodied up in the back. Looks like he got shot in the head. And then now he's wrestling this week in a qualifying match. That's just great. And then we got then we had Uncle Howdy, who is Bo Dallas. Howdy walks to the stage with the rest of them, and then he blows the amp out and says, "We're here," and the show ends. Which, it was a pretty good Raw, honestly. Best Raw of the year, in my opinion. It was so unexpected with that Seth return, which is what made it so good. If we knew that Seth was gonna return, I don't think it would have been as good, but with Seth returning and we didn't even know it, I think it made it even better. And then we'll talk about, I know it's out of order, but we'll talk about TNA so I don't forget about it. Then it was PCO and a Steph D. Lane date that was interrupted by AJ Francis and Rich Swann. And I think they put Stephanie D. Lane through a table. And then, Moose and, I know all this stuff for TNA's out of order. But it was TNA champion Moose and the System. They introduced Johnny Curtis to the System, basically, for helping him out last week against Matt Hardy. And then there was also Johnny Curtis Dongo versus Ryan Nemeth, where Johnny Dongo Curtis picked up the W, and Yeah, it was a pretty good show. And then the main event was Josh Alexander versus Eric Young to qualify for a match against Moose for the title at Slammiversary, and Josh Alexander picks up the W, so he'll be in the six-way. He'll be in the six-way for the title at Slammiversary. Well, the other four members of the six-way haven't been announced yet, but I think the matches have been. I think it's Joe Hendry versus I can't even remember it, but I think that it'll be Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about Frankie Kazarian versus Joe Hendry's mentor, where Frankie Kazarian picked up the W in the Chicago Street Fight. And then I think it's gonna be Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian, and then who else? Oh, Nick Nemeth, and who's the fourth person? I know there's somebody that could be. I just can't remember who it was. But yeah, I think those three are definitely guaranteed for it since Josh Alexander and yeah. Man, it disturbs me that I can't even remember who it was, who the other match is. But yeah, so then it was, let's talk about NXT. So Joe Hendry was in the Battle Royal to determine who will face Trick Williams at Heatwave. And Joe Hendry, sadly, was the first one eliminated, which I didn't really like at the time, but now I understand it more, as now he can just go to Raw or SmackDown, which will really help him, since I think that him versus Gunther, or him versus, him versus Braun Breaker, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be a championship feud. It could be with, like, who would be a good feud for him? Him versus Gunther would be a good feud, but I don't know if they would want to put him in the main event for it, since he's a TNA star. And I don't even know if they'll bring it to the main roster, but I think he would be the first one they would bring to the main roster for a feud. Then, so the match kept going on. Frankie Kazarian got a couple eliminations, and he got eliminated. But then Javon Evans gets the W to win the Battle Royal. And well, Ethan Page was technically never eliminated during the thing. He was never eliminated technically from the match, which led to a match later in the main event, which I really liked that because Ora Mensa never eliminated him. I thought that they were just gonna forget about it, but nope, they didn't, luckily, which I really liked. Okay, so we're back. I had a little bit of a tech issue, but yeah. So then it was the Lola Vice and Roxanne Perez versus Lash Legend and Jakar Jackson versus JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. And Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice got the W. And after the match, Roxanne Perez knocks out Lola Vice with a punch, I think. It was a backhand, I think. So yeah. Then it was Kalani Jordan versus Michin, where Kalani Jordan retains her NXT Women's North American Championship, which I really liked the match, but I just don't like her, Michin and Jada Parker's feud, because Jada Parker cost her the match after OTM distracted the ref. Jada Parker shoved her off the top rope, which led to her losing the match. And then it was Oba Fleming came out telling he was saying how nobody could beat him. And then Wesley comes out saying that he's never faced him in a one-on-one match and that he would beat him in a one-on-one match, which I would like to really see that. And Oba challenges him to a match and says that if Wesley loses, then Wesley will never get a chance at the title again until he's not champion anymore. Which usually when this happens, the person that's challenging wins the title. Which it last happened, I think, with Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Speaking of Axiom and Nathan Frazier, Axiom was upset that Nathan Frazier was in the Battle Royal without telling Axiom. And then the the lawyer for Tony D'Angelo comes in. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But, yeah, I can't remember his name. But he comes in telling him he has a contract for Nathan Frazier for the NXT Heritage Cup, saying that he could get a chance at it if they give him a chance for the tag titles, and Nathan Frazier just accepts it immediately without even talking to Axiom, which I think they're leading towards a breakup between them. I could see Axiom turning heel, like on Nathan Frazier, or Nathan Frazier turning heel on Axiom. I could see either of those since Nathan Frazier was trained by Seth Rollins, so I could see some turns here. Seth Rollins has some history with betrayals. Then it was Fallon Henley versus Carly Bright, where Fallon Henley obviously got the W over Carly Bright since Carly Bright is just new here, and yeah. Well, Carly Bright lost also because of Wendy Chu interference, where Wendy Chu with her new possessed by demons gimmick, which is I'm not a big fan of it, honestly. And then next it was Chase U versus the OC, since they had a segment earlier. It was Duke Hudson and Andre Chase for Chase U, since Riley Osborne's out of the country in UK. So Chase U got the W after some interference by Ridge. Ridge held Duke over the OC member so that they could get the W. And then Andre Chase asked him if they did anything dirty after the match, and they told him no, that they hadn't done anything dirty. So yeah. So then next it was Ethan Page versus Javon Evans, where Ethan Page got the W, and he was pretty good during the match, honestly. I really like Ethan Page's fighting style, which I usually am not a big fan of how people like him fight, but the way he fights with all of his confidence is really entertaining to me. And then after the match, Ethan Page attacks Trick Williams and Sean Spears attacks Javon Evans, but then it turns in a huge brawl, but Javon Evans stands out on top, and they're all laid out in the ring technically at the end of the episode. So now we'll move on to SmackDown. So CM Punk reunited with, he started out the show in the Chicago crowd. He was hyping them all up. Then we hear Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman comes out. They hug and have a reunion. Paul tells them that Solo is angry that it's CM Punk's town and warns CM Punk to leave. Punk asks what Paul Heyman wants from him if he does leave. Then Paul says he wants to go with CM Punk. We see Solo come out, and Solo is about to attack CM Punk with the Tongans, and Cody Rhodes comes out with his bat and stops him, which I really like that because CM Punk is a former Paul Heyman guy technically, so I really like that. And then it was Chelsea Green versus Bianca Belair versus Michin in a Money in the Bank qualifier match, where Chelsea Green picked up the W after stealing Bianca Belair's win, since Bianca Belair hit her finisher on Michin, but Chelsea threw Bianca out of the ring and pinned Michin for the W to get into the Money in the Bank. I'm a huge Chelsea fan, and I see her winning the Money in the Bank match, which she really needs it, because I could see her going on a dastardly heel run. She would be such a good heel title holder. Imagine that. That would be so crazy. With her holding the title with Piper by her side and with as a big security guard basically. And then it was so we see a DIY interview with a DIY and Grace Waller promo in the back. We see the metal gate rocking, and somebody rolls it up, and we see CM Punk brutalized with Drew McIntyre standing over him. Surprise, he didn't technically quit. So Drew McIntyre picks CM Punk up and carries him to the entrance ramp and puts him down there. and takes his bracelet that he always wears, which I really like this rivalry that's happening between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It's like a really unique rivalry in my opinion. Like, I haven't seen a rivalry this personal in a while. It's been a while since CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. And then after that, it was Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton versus Tama Tonga, where Carmelo Hayes picked up the W after a roll-up on Randy Orton. After Randy was distracted, was attack by Tonga Loa, which Kevin Owens fended Tonga Loa off. Yeah, so Melo in the Bank really sounds good, and I really could see Melo winning it, but I, of course, have Jey Uso winning it, so yeah. This could be interesting. Then next, it was Kevin Owens versus Grayson Waller versus Andrade. So Kevin Owens got attacked before the match, and by the Tonga brothers, of course, and it was a really brutal attack, I guess, on his leg that was previously injured. And but Kevin Owens still fought through it. He performed really good during the match, but not good enough to get the W, as Grayson Waller went for his Rolling Thunder on Andrade, but got hit with the message, and Andrade picked up the W to qualify for Money in the Bank, which I really like because Andrade's been like not used at all right in after his return and at Royal Rumble. Like, he's speed champion, but that really doesn't mean anything. Like, Ricochet was speed champion, and look, he's out of the company now after that Braun Breaker attack. So, yeah, it could really turn bad for him if he didn't qualify. But since he qualified, I feel like it's going to go really well for him now. Like, I would want him to win it, but it's like, you gotta have a SmackDown woman win it, which is the bad thing. Because I don't really see Io Sky or Lyra Valkyria, or I don't even know who else could be in it for the women's side. And then we had Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa, where Cody Rhodes technically won by disqualification after Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa attacked him during the match. And Cody Rhodes then had some help come out in the form of Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and they fended Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa out of the ring. So Solo Sikoa was in the ring alone from him, and he started to cower, which was the first time we've ever seen him show fear, technically, or like any kind of emotion. So, and then he started laughing, and they were confused. Then we see Jacob Fatu take them all out. He lays Kevin Owens out on the stairs. He lays Randy Orton out through the barricade. And then he does like a frog splash to Cody Rhodes through the announce table. It was crazy. I think Tama Tonga's already overshadowed Solo Sikoa, and he just debuted. It's so crazy. Like, he is such a good superstar, and I don't know. It's just, he's just so good at what he does. It's crazy. So now we're going to get to the tier list part of this video, which we are going to do our top 10, well, I'm going to do my top 10 WWE superstars, yes, only WWE superstars of all time. So, coming in at number 10, we have Daniel Bryan. I've been a huge Daniel Bryan fan. I started watching in 2012, right when he was starting to get popular. And he's just been one of my favorites of all time. And then number 9, I have Jeff Hardy. He has been, I loved seeing his, like, he just flips and all the crazy stuff he would do. I didn't get to see his first run when he was in the company, like, because I wasn't watching then. But when he had his second run, like, with Matt and Hardy in like 2016, 2017, or 2018, I can't remember which year it was. I love that run, and it was so great for me. Then number 8, number 8 was The Undertaker. Undertaker, I didn't get to see much in his career, but the matches I saw were so great. My favorite match out of all of his matches I got to see like I didn't go back and rewatch it, was probably AJ Styles versus Undertaker, his last match ever. I love that match. It was such a good match. The Boneyard match was so good between them. It was a great way to send Undertaker off. Then number 6, I have Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler has been one of my favorites of all time. I just love how he sells, love how he does all of his moves. I don't know, it's just been, he's always been one of my favorites of all time. I don't know why, but I just love how he sells. I just love whenever people sell really good. That is one of my favorite things that people can do. And then Dolph was 7, so this is number 6. Number six is Edge. Edge, I didn't get to see much. I didn't get to see his career basically before he returned. So in 2020 when he returned, I didn't really know who he was. But when he had that match versus Randy Orton, in the greatest match in WWE history, it was such a good match, and it got me as such a big Edge fan that I went back and looked at his old matches, and I fell in love with his character. Then for number 5, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of my favorites of all time. I rewatched all of his matches basically, all of his pay-per-view matches I've rewatched. He is just such a good star. He's he would honestly be higher, but at number 4, I have Bray Wyatt. His passing saddened me so much. I was so invested in what he was doing in 2023 at the Royal Rumble, or with the Uncle Howdy gimmick. I was so invested in that. And when he was going to start feuding with Bobby, I was so excited, but I was so confused when his feud was dropped. And I was a huge fan before that. I loved when he was feuding with The Shield. Their match at Elimination Chamber, the 6-way, was so good. It was one of my favorite matches of all time, honestly. Then at number 3, we have HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. His moveset was so good, and how he could just hit that super kick out of just nowhere is so good. And his match against Undertaker, his retirement match, technically, it was so good. It was it is my favorite match of all time, honestly. And then number 2, it is Randy Orton. Randy Orton has sometimes been in my life number 1, but it's always teetered between number 1 and 2 for me. I've always been a huge Randy Orton fan though, because Randy Orton was always there. He's never left the company. I've never seen him sure, he's been injured for some times, but I've never seen him leave like other superstars, which is one of the best reasons why he's the most loyal person in the company. Then at number 1, we have John Cena, of course. When I started watching, he was the biggest person. When I started watching WWE, his biggest feud right then was the Nexus, and I had just got into wrestling at that time, so it was just crazy. He was so over with fans that it made me love him, and when I saw what he was doing outside of WWE, it made me love him even more. Okay, so guys, that'll be the end of the video, so I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm hoping Blake can be here next episode, and things can get back to normal, so I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.